The 10th and final of our habits for how to take responsibility, how to practice the opposite of defensive reasoning, is a special case. It's a special case for how to take responsibility when you've hurt somebody, how to take responsibility when your mistakes hurt people. One of the things that we often recognize is that taking responsibility is very easy when no one else knows, when there's no shame involved. But how do you take responsibility when you've made a mistake, especially a mistake that's hurt somebody? Well, in some ways, this is a accumulation of a number of the habits that we've talked about it. One of them is, just like you learn to say, you were right, I was wrong, it's important to say, I made a mistake, I'm the one that's responsible. And then it's important, if you've hurt somebody, to say to them, I made a mistake, I was responsible, and I hurt you. I apologize for that. Oftentimes what happens is when you've hurt somebody, what they need is an acknowledgement that you've hurt them. They don't actually need you to grovel. They don't need anything other than to recognize that you were the one that hurt them. So if you say, I've made a mistake, I apologize that I hurt you, it takes all the tension in the room and allows everyone to take a breath. Now, it doesn't solve every problem. You still have to then engage in double loop learning. Oftentimes, I want to talk to that person and say, I understand that I hurt you. I apologize for hurting you. Now, I'd love to talk to you about why I hurt you, and let's figure out how so it doesn't happen again. Can we have that kind of that kind of relationship where we trust each other enough that I can talk about it and you can tell me what I can learn? Notice what's happened in that moment is I've handed all the authority over to the other person. They're going to decide together they're going to decide with us, but they're going to have the authority of saying what I did wrong. It is a scary kind of a moment to know that you've hurt somebody. Oftentimes in that scary moment, the last thing we want to do is give that person power because we think that that person might use it to hurt us back. But if you say, let's talk together about how we can figure out as to where I don't hurt you again, well, that's a completely different thing. The last thing that you have to often do in recognizing, or the final thing that you can do in taking responsibility for when you hurt somebody, is to talk about the competing commitments. It's often the case that I've hurt somebody, not because I intended to hurt them, but because I was engaging in some kind of other thing where I was pursuing this kind of commitment over here, and I didn't really think about their commitment. So what I can do is I can name for them and say, part of what I'm struggling with here is that I'm engaging in competing commitments. I want to do this and I want to do your thing. Can we talk together about how to make sure that I can do your thing, how I can do whatever it is that won't hurt you, and at the same time accomplish the goal that I have over here? We have to figure out how to make the competing commitments discussable in such a way that we decide together how to address them.